Ezra and the Golden Coconut. In the coconut fairy village of Tantara, high in the coconut trees of Madagascar, every young fairy dreamed of the day they would take part in the Kule Hasina. This sacred trial marked the moment when a fairy's wings would grow to full size, and they would gain their fairy mark, a magical symbol unique to each fairy and visible only on larger fairy wings. For Ezra, the day had finally arrived. Standing by the shimmering mirror pool, he stared at his tiny blue wings, excitement bubbling in his chest. By the end of the trial, they would be bigger. "I'll be able to fly even faster with bigger wings, Ila," he said to his little sister, whose soft pink wings fluttered around him excitedly. "How exciting! I wonder what your fairy mark's gonna look like," asked Ila. Ezra smiled nervously. "I don't know yet, Ila, but I hope it's something that shows I'm brave." Just then, a loud horn echoed through the village. "It's the Hasina call! It's time!" Ila said, darting towards the village center. Ezra took a final glance at his reflection, stood up tall, and followed her to the heart of Tantara. The village had gathered at the base of the great tree, an enormous ancient coconut tree that seemed to touch the clouds. The elder fairy, Nia, stepped forward, placing a garland of glowing flowers around Ezra's neck. Her voice was gentle but firm as she spoke. "Remember, Ezra, the Kule Hasina isn't about strength or speed. It's about the purity of your heart and your willingness to help others." Ezra nodded confidently. "I'll do my best," he said, glancing back at his family. They gave him an encouraging thumbs up as he turned towards the towering tree. Its immense height made his heart skip a beat, but he shook off his doubts and refocused. Ezra's task was clear. He needed to earn the golden coconut at the top of the great tree. This sacred coconut was guarded by Kazo, a grumpy beetle fairy known for testing the hearts of those who dared approach the golden coconut. "I can do this," Ezra whispered, taking a deep breath before launching himself into the air. His small wings worked tirelessly as he flew to the top of the massive tree. After what felt like forever, he reached the top, where the golden coconut glimmered like a tiny sun. As Ezra stretched out his hand to touch it, a loud buzzing sound stopped him. Kazo appeared. "Who dares to touch the golden coconut?" Kazo growled, his deep voice echoing through the giant tree. "It's me, Ezra, of the coconut fairies," Ezra said, standing as tall as his tiny wings would allow. "I'm here to complete the Kule Hasina." Kazo laughed, his voice full of disbelief. "You complete the Kule Hasina with those tiny wings?" Ezra's cheeks burned red, but he held his ground. "Yes, me and my tiny wings will complete the Kule Hasina." Kazo squinted at him. A spark of curiosity transformed into a serious gaze. "The golden coconut is not just for anyone. To earn it, you must prove that your heart is pure and true. Complete my test, and you shall have the golden coconut." Ezra swallowed hard. "What's your test?" he asked, as a shiver of fear spread to his wings. Kazo pointed to the base of the tree, where a baby bird was tangled in a web of vines, chirping in distress. "Free that bird without using magic, and prove to me that you care for the creatures of this jungle. Return before the sun sets, and the golden coconut will be yours." Ezra's heart sank. The bird was so far down, and the vines looked tightly knotted, but he didn't hesitate. "I'll do it," he said, before diving as fast as he could towards the trapped bird. When he reached the base of the tree, Ezra found the baby bird struggling against the vines. He used all of his strength to pull them apart, but the knots were tight and almost impossible to move. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked carefully, loosening the vines to avoid hurting the tiny creature. "Ezra, let me help you!" Ila's voice called out as she fluttered beside him, her pink wings glowing faintly. "No, Ila, I have to do this alone. It's my test," Ezra said firmly as he waved her off. Ila shook her head. "No one has to do anything on their own. Kazo said you can't use magic, but he didn't say you couldn't ask for help." Ezra paused, the weight of her words sinking in. She was right. "Okay, but let's be gentle and quick," he said, Together, they carefully untangled the last of the vines. The baby bird flapped its wings with gratitude and chirped happily before returning to its nest. You did it! Ila squealed, her face glowing with pride. Now go and get that coconut! Ezra nodded and flew back to the top of the great tree with the last bit of strength and speed he could gather. Kazo was waiting, his grumpy expression softened. Well done, young fairy, Kazo said. You have proven your heart is pure, and you're not blinded by pride, but guided by good intentions. The coconut is yours. The golden coconut glowed brighter as Ezra placed his hands on it. Warmth spread through his body, and his small wings grew, shimmering with a radiant light. A detailed symbol shaped like a rising sun appeared on his wings. It was his fairy mark. Ezra's heart beamed with joy. He had done it. He had completed the Kule Hasina. Back in the village, Ezra landed triumphantly, the golden coconut in his hand and his fully grown wings radiating a bright blue. The fairies cheered as his family approached him with a warm embrace. Your fairy mark is so cool, Ila said, hugging him tightly. Great job, Ezra, his mom said, as his father nodded proudly. Ezra smiled. His heart was full. I couldn't have done it without you, Ila, he said, causing his little sister's smile to spread to her pointy ears. That evening, the fairies of Tantara gathered under the great tree to celebrate Ezra's accomplishment. A new golden coconut appeared. Its glowing light lit up the village. From that day on, every time Ezra saw the great tree, he remembered the lesson he had learned. True bravery comes from having a heart big enough to help others and the wisdom to accept help when it's needed.